Well, hello and welcome back to the Back of the Band podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Walden, of course, co-host Joe McGlade, as always. And a very special guest today. Really happy to finally get Abbi Crutchfield on the podcast. A comedian, TV presenter, all tricks and trades he's into. Actually in New York at the minute. There's a bit of a distance between us. We're Chesterfield, England and New York.
Yeah.
How's it going in New York at the minute?
Hey, Charlie. Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me. It's good. I mean, we're phasing from summer into fall. So the weather goes from like hot and humid, super rainy to very cool and crisp. You got a hoodie on right now. That's what we call the article of clothing you're wearing. I don't want to do that this whole episode, but I don't get a chance to talk very often to people from Chesterfield. Is that what you said?
Chesterfield, yeah.
Great. So yeah, I don't know if in Chesterfield they call it a hoodie, but I love them.
Jumper, yeah.
I would be wearing a jumper right now if I could, but
you can tell the difference between what countries we're in because one half's wearing jumpers, the other one's wearing a t-shirt.
Exactly.
You can tell where we are.
And it's not raining here. I just left the shower, so I don't know. Joe, your hair is a little bit curly too. You got some product in there?
I got out of the shower as well not so long ago.
I just noticed that you have got similar hairstyles actually. If Joe grew his hair out, you look pretty similar.
Nice. Yeah. I'm a curly fan. But you've got some volume to your hair, Charlie.
Do you reckon? Everyone always says mine's pretty thick.
No, I mean, whatever you're doing right now, it's got some height.
I appreciate that. I don't get many compliments on my hair, so you're already my favorite person.
I think we could I'm happy to be that. And I think we should turn this into a hair product comparison podcast now. Well, what are we using?
If we're complimenting my hair, we should. Listen, all I use is a bit of shampoo and a bit of conditioner every now and then. I don't know what Joe uses.
Goodness. He's a no maintenance, low maintenance guy.
Very, very.
Joe over here, on the other hand, I can tell, just mousses and gels.
Serum. Yeah, I put like serum.
He's got a private barber at his house.
Yeah, but he's naturally curly, but I put like serum and everything in to make it even curlier. So I always do that.
I love serum. That's a fancy bottle of serum, at least. Yeah. You know.
All secrets are coming out now. I didn't know this about Joe. All secrets are coming out now.
Yeah, the serum. I always put serum on.
Big secrets coming out. How was work for you then in New York? Are you managing to commute to work okay with sort of COVID stuff and or is it in person?
A lot of my work is done from home still because of COVID, and so voiceover auditions can be done from home. I just put on headphones and use a microphone either to record ahead of time or have an interactive recording. And same for auditions. Like normally I would take a train into the city. I live in Brooklyn, so it's like a 30-minute ride into Manhattan where a lot of the casting agencies are. And we would just all line up. A bunch of people that look like me would sit in the same room and wait for our turn to go in and see somebody who has a camera in a different room, and they would record us on their camera and then send us home. But now it's just you record with your own phone or your desktop, and it's either live or it's self-tape ahead of time. So I do, even though I've been riding the train into the city for different things, errands and shopping and stuff, I wish we could do it for work again, just to separate the whole work and home environment. Although, I mean, you kind of have a sweet deal there because you can just fall asleep when you're done.
I tell you what, I thought this working from home was a good idea. Joe says the same. We had college start of this year. We just wrapped it up and we was working from home the majority of the time. And when we finish, and when like obviously we're doing our work and that, TV's right here, for example, where I am. So sometimes I'm a bit bored of, I might wax that. A show based in New York. I might whack I Met Your Mother on, for example. Next minute, 2 hours in to work, I'm watching TV and lecturer's doing a lecture and I'm watching I Met Your Mother. So
oh my goodness,
different distractions really when you're home. I feel I'd rather be like you say, in the actual place, because otherwise, like I say, you're laying in bed on your phone, you're watching TV, you're gonna make yourself something to eat every 10 minutes. I mean, it's hard to find that balance, really.
It's like a white collar prison. You don't get around. You've got some freedom, your comfort, but it's real limited.
It's very
even communicating with people in real life is better, isn't it? Because when we were doing them Zoom calls, we could barely speak to each other. So like when we got into class, it was more fun and we were a bit more rowdy. But
of course,
that's a good part as well. Yeah, like even seeing people.
Big Brother's not watching. You've got your teacher right on the same screen as you guys. So what's the?
We did
exactly. I was having to try and crack a joke at me, Charlie. Less of that, Joe. So the comedy side couldn't come out of me, and then I'm a big prankster. I like to pull jokes and prank people. So the best we could do really is when we were doing a Kahoot, all I could do was make some silly names up and that. So
Oh, that's fun. I mean, everybody else got entertained, but you were probably like exhausted by the end of the day.
Yeah, this is pretty boring compared to what I'm used to
always joke about a friend going on a bike ride, or when one didn't answer, we'd always joke about someone's gone to the zoo or something, and then teacher would obviously be like, "I am really," as it, but it were funny.
Yeah.
I've got a quick question for you. What's quicker, the bus or the train?
Depends where you want to go, but typically the train arrives more regularly than the bus. We have a system in my area where you can, it changes all the time, but you can text a certain code that's on the bus stop to a certain number, and they'll tell you how far away the bus is. That doesn't mean the bus is coming quickly, but it gives you answers. You know, it'll say, you got a 30-minute wait, and then you go, this sucks, and you go to the train. But what's funny about it is that sometimes you'll go and that code will be gone. Like they just decided no one gets a code. It's not going to work anyway. Or there's a brand new system in place where you can just push a button. It'll say your bus arrives in 2 minutes. And you're like, this is so nice. And then a month later, it'll be gone. So it's a little, I don't know why these things come and go, but it's not a reliable system. I think what is reliable is that you're going to wait wherever you are.
That is very true. It's essentially the same with buses in the UK in a minute. I remember sitting at the bus stop at 8 p.m. Bus is meant to be there at 8:50. Didn't show up until 10:15. I'm actually sat there and it keeps saying
Did you really sit there?
Because it kept these apps, they trick you. They say, there's one in half an hour, there's one in 15 minutes, look out. Then 2 minutes before it's meant to come, vanished. Where's it gone? Vanished. And I feel like an absolute idiot. I keep waiting for the next one and the next one.
Of
and
course.
It's gone.
You're the world's most patient man. I don't think I could wait that long.
Even when it said it would do, like it's you'd have like 2 minutes left and you've waited like 15 minutes and all of a sudden your bus says, oh, it's not turning up, so you've waited all that long and then what you meant to do after that.
Right. No, that's universal then. I'm glad you guys have the same experience, but buses are infuriating the worldwide.
Oh, definitely true.
The world over.
I wish I could get a train and a tram everywhere for sure, because they are so much more reliable. Just a bit more expensive, but definitely more reliable. One question I do have is, obviously I watched a lot of TV and stuff, and I see especially one of my favorite shows, I mentioned it earlier, How I Met Your Mother, there was like a theory that New Yorkers hate New Jerseyans. Is that a true thing? I want to know, is that a true thing?
Well, I wasn't born and raised in New York, and I still hate New Jersey. So I don't really know what it is about, like how New Jersey is marketed to us. I never even watched How I Met Your Mother, even though it's super, super popular. I saw a few episodes here and there. So is that based in Jersey or Manhattan?
New York, Brooklyn.
New York. Okay. So it's like Friends.
Yeah.
It's Manhattan, I think.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So is that a running gag that they hate Jersey?
Yeah.
Well, one reason I just went to my sister's place in Baltimore and I had to take the New Jersey Turnpike. It's one of our expressways or highways. And I got lost on it. And maybe that will embarrass my friends who know me, but I was just like, it's the curse of Jersey. I hate Jersey. And I got turned around and I got off and I had to get on and pay again because you have to pay a toll every time you ride it. And
God.
Well, so that's one reason people don't like New Jersey. But I mean, there are benefits to living there. It's like more affordable. It's better for families. You get bigger houses and more space. But to me, it's not really aesthetically pleasing. And it depends what section of Jersey you're even visiting. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, there was one scene with the guy called Ted. It was trying to get him and his mate were trying to basically pull these two women, and they were making out they were New Yorkers, and they got in the taxi, and they were going to say, "Oh, we're going back to our place." The women said that, and then Ted realized, "Wait, we're not going to do it. We're going to New Jersey." And they go, "Yeah, we're from New Jersey, but it's based in New York." And he's like, "Screw this! I don't care. I hate New Jersey. Get me out of the car."
We have different values. Yeah,
we have different values. And next minute, they've been robbed in New Jersey. And he's like, "I hate New Jersey." And these two women have got a ride back from the cops, and they go, "Oh, can I have a ride back with you as well?" The two men, and this cop says, "Born and raised in New Jersey." Sorry, no.
No.
So we always wanted to ask that, to be honest with you. But how long have you actually lived in New York?
I've been in New York almost a little over 15 years. I don't know. Quick math is not my thing. So the year I moved here was 2004. And now it's 2021.
Where did you live originally?
Indianapolis, Indiana. So that's in the Midwest. We're known for the Indianapolis 500 race that happens once a year in the summertime, and for corn. I don't know that that's a big export, but you can see a lot of cornfields when you're driving through it.
Okay. So why did you to move to New York? Was it for work?
I moved to New York to pursue to pursue a career in entertainment. Now there is an entertaining scene in Indiana, but I don't think it's something you can make your living off of there, and maybe to a small extent. But so what I was doing to get, I graduated college and I came back home to kind of save money for a summer and have some odd jobs. So I worked as a substitute teacher and then a waitress, but I also wanted to see if I could start to make money in entertainment. And so I like auditioned through, what do you call it when you look up jobs? It was Craigslist at the time, but I don't know what you guys use.
We use Indeed. It's rubbish. Never
works.
Okay.
Indeed, yeah.
Rubbish.
I would look up entertainment offers. So they'd be like, audition for this role in an independent film. And so I signed up with a local commercial agency and I didn't know they would sign me, but I just kind of showed up and said, hey, I want to be in commercials. And so after a while, what happens is they start to send you out. And if you book an audition, then you can, they'd start to book you more or send you more. So I was starting to get a little bit of work that way. I shot an independent film, very, very low budget, just a local thing. I shot some local commercials. And then I wanted to try stand-up comedy at our local comedy club. And so at this point, I don't really know what it is I want to do. I just know that I want to try to figure it out. And I think I even rented from the library books like stand-up comedy for dummies, it was acting for dummies. I don't think they have a stand-up comedy book yet. They had something called the Comedy Bible, which I think you guys probably have access to if you really want to get into stand-up. Judy Carter wrote a how-to examining, I think, comedians from the 60s through the 80s and like their success track and things that they would do. So it's a bit dated and people like to poke fun at it, but I found it to be a very helpful resource in giving me some sort of sense of how to figure this out. Because I just thought writing stand-up was like, make a funny speech, make something that I knew I had experience of doing that in school, but it's not speech and debate. It's like, or forensics or whatever you call it. So it's an actual conversation with the audience where you present an idea and then they enjoy that and then you keep it going. But so I did the local open mic and I did really well my first time, which is kind of typical because you're so nervous that just the fact that you got it done, you've got all this adrenaline and relief when it's finished. And I started doing it throughout that summer more regularly in local venues and realized like, oh, this is what it feels like when a joke doesn't work. And but it felt more freeing than auditioning and waiting to see if someone would cast you. Cause it's like, I just write it, I get up on stage and I get people looking at me and they love it right away, So to me, I started getting a sense that I wanted to do stand up or pursue that as a career. And I also did a bit of dinner theater. And so that was comedy based where it's live. There's people eating food while you don different disguises and characters and you've memorized the script. So it's a bit like acting, but it's not quite sketch and it's not quite improv. It's definitely not stand up, but it is a live bit of theater that's campy and funny. So I knew I have a sense of humor. I like to write. I love to be in front of an audience live and get a reaction from them and respond to that reaction. Like it doesn't make me clam up and want to run away and hide. It makes me want to get in touch with them better. So stand-up was really the thing that looked like it was the most fun for me. And so I moved to New York because a lot of the professional comedians that were coming through Indiana and hitting our local comedy club were telling me how they got their career off the ground and where they were, So at that time I thought, doing the road is kind of obligatory. In this day and age, you can live in a city where you can get a lot of performance opportunities and then parlay that into on-camera appearances and, television work pays a bit more than road work, live performing. But, it just, once you develop the skill of stand-up and you keep growing in it as long as you live, and you can also turn it into different kinds of things. So what I do today is a little bit different than what I set out to do.
Okay, so two-part question for me then. So you said, so when you seen stand up, you sort of discover stand up. Was that like that's it for you? That this is my passion now. This is what I want to really delve into. Obviously, we're looking at the acting and stuff. And the second part is on those sort of early days of stand up. What was one of the biggest lessons you learned and the biggest piece of advice you learned?
Well, the reason stand up appealed to me at that onset was because my experiences with shooting commercials, and they were local commercials. These were not national airing commercials. So the size of the set is different. The level of professionalism is different. I wasn't in an acting union yet, so they could keep you all day long and not give you bathroom breaks and not feed you. And I didn't know any of this. I was just there and excited to be there. So it was hard. And I was like, oh, this is a lot of stuff I'm not in control of, versus stand up where they just told me when to show up and they put a spotlight on me and I decide how I look. I decide what I say. And the only thing I have to do is leave when they tell me to, like, oh, time's up, time to get off the stage. So it felt like, I feel like a director and an actor and a producer here. I'm sitting here waiting instead of waiting at a picnic table for them to call me over and say, okay, time to do your line, which is what the local commercial experience felt like. And I did a little bit of local modeling, and I did, the dinner theater was actually tons of fun, but it was just not a viable career option. Like I would get.
Sorry to interrupt. What's dinner theater?
Oh, in dinner theater, and I don't know if it exists in other countries, but it is a thing where people come to eat dinner and watch a show. But the way it was done at this particular dinner theater, it was called the Mystery Cafe of Indianapolis. So every show people watched, there was a murder mystery that would occur. Some character that me and another actor would play. There's 2 actors per show. We play a total of like 6 characters. We come in as, like the wealthy aunt who kind of sets the scene of here's where you are tonight and here's the year. Brilliant. Then the other person comes in as the skeevy cousin who's always up to no good, and the wealthy aunt's like, don't trust him. And then the aunt will die or the cousin will die, who knows. Someone else will come, the same person comes back in with a mustache as a detective. The way they chose to do it. Okay. I don't know how it is in other cities, but it's super, like when I say campy, that means it's like the audience is in on it. It's like, wasn't that just the lady who? A lot of fun, though. Yeah. And then someone else will play the detective. Sometimes the person who dies is also who comes back as the detective. And the way they set up this particular dinner, it was interactive. Like the characters could improvise with the audience and be like, did you see anything? And the person eating soup would be like, I don't know. Ask my wife. Leave me alone. Like they'd either be nervous or they would play along. To me. Yeah. And so, and that's part of the fun. And also another element of this script was that it was full of puns. So everybody's character name would be some kind of pun and some kind of cheesy joke. And so by the end of it, like one of the dinner people would be handed an envelope and told they were the killer. And here's why. So, which now in hindsight is it's like, we came to watch you guys perform. Why are we the ones doing it? But really the people loved it. Like they got great reviews and I loved working there. And the men that ran the place, I think it was Chris and Joe, are super, super cool. So whatever. It just felt like, yeah, but that's not answering. Anyway, so to answer your first question, I have more control doing stand-up, which is why it appealed to me. The other art forms I was trying to enter into under the guise of entertainment was hard and frustrating. And I was just out of college. So I probably was a little bit delusional and entitled, like, this should be easy. Look, here I am. I'm ready to do it. Give me work. And I didn't know about like the waiting game and the work, honing your craft and things like that. So the second question, do you remember your second part of your question?
It was, what lessons did you learn early on, and what was probably the best piece of advice you learned?
Yeah, well, received? 2 things stick out. One, and I want to get people's names right. A comedian named Drew Hastings had a book, an autograph book, where I would just, every time I would come to our local comedy club, which had the open mic on Tuesday nights, but regular shows throughout the weekend, I would come on the weekend. I'd bring my book. I'd say, hello, that was a great show. Will you please sign this? And, give me any advice, And so most people entertained it. He just wrote persevere an exclamation point. Good, I don't even have this book anymore. I don't know where this book is, but I will never forget because he wrote it so big. And he didn't say anything. He just like, yeah, here. He even had a cold that night. And so the club owner gave him a hot toddy, which is just like, I don't know, some rum tea drink. And he was just miserable, but I really appreciated they took the time to write it. Yeah. And so, but he in hindsight had probably the best word to sum it up of just like, you're out of the game when you choose to leave. So as long as you're auditioning, and even if you're not getting booked, but you're still prepared and ready to audition, you're working, you're just not making money at it. But when you say, hey, I don't want to be represented anymore, or don't call me with the bookings, I'm going to now work in an office, like that's you leaving. Yeah. And I think that's important to know that, like, as long as you're sticking with it and trying to grow, you're still doing it, because in entertainment, like if you're not getting all the attention and getting all the work at a certain time, you start to feel like, what am I doing? I'm kidding myself. I'm an idiot. And so, yeah, I like Drew Hastings' advice, persevere. And then the other advice came from a comedian you may recognize, Mike Birbiglia. He's pretty big in the States here. And he just, I think we were exchanging emails because he had gone to the college I went to and he was a few years ahead. So it was at a point in time where he was approachable. Somehow his email was accessible to the world and I just emailed him. I mean, you found me through social media. So now it's a bit different. You can contact whomever, whenever, but you know, so I just wrote him. I was like, do you have any tips? And he said, yeah, write and write and write. And when you think you've written enough, write some more. And the point of that is just like the work ethic you have to develop and the self-motivation you have to have. This is like how I'm taking his advice, is what keeps you going. Like you cannot just start to be like, well, I made something funny that people like, I'm going to do this for the next 20 years. It doesn't exactly work that way. And then you start to like hate yourself and the audiences find it to be stale. So just, you just keep, and when you keep working on it and you keep constantly like writing, you obviously get better at it. You learn something more about yourself. You get more comfortable on stage by writing more. You want to tell the jokes that you've written. So the secret to getting better at stand-up is to keep doing it over and over and over.
I definitely agree.
Did you have any hecklers, and did it ever knock your confidence when you were younger doing your stand-up comedy?
No. Yes, I had hecklers, but no, they did not knock my confidence. I think my biggest heckler is like me, coming up. Like anxiety really can impact how you're doing something, the same way I think in gymnastics or in Olympics, like Olympic athletes have to have these like minds of steel. And so I think because you're up against something that isn't natural, like standing in front of a room full of people staring at you can trigger fight or flight. And so like on a subconscious level, you're like, oh, wolves are going to eat me. What do I do? And the answer is to say the jokes that you prepared. And then the audience calms down. And then you feel like, I've lulled them into a stupor. Here's my next joke. And so like all that's happening, I think on a subconscious level. Like consciously, you're like, hey guys. And everybody's like, hey. And then you do your jokes and then you leave. It's not that deep. But I think it does trigger survival instincts. And so when someone heckles, that is like you're losing a bit of control, or you have the potential to lose control. I think the more you're doing stand-up, the more you experience like going into it. Oh, there's a bachelorette party here. Yeah. These people are celebrating and they're going to want to be focused on what they're laughing about. So there's going to be pockets of laughter that aren't with the jokes. And you might encourage the room to poke fun at them or, guide the room's focus to you. There's drunk people. I've never been in the kind of position where someone wants to fist fight me after a show, which I know a lot of comedians. Some comedians have that experience. That is not mine. That's not my brand. That's not what I radiate. Like, come fight me after this. So yeah, I think there has never been a heckler where I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to quit comedy now, or oh, that was horrible, I lost them and I never got them back. Because sometimes you do and you go, well, I'll perform again tomorrow, or those guys suck. And you start to tell yourself like, I hate them. They were a bad crowd, and you start to make it not your problem the same way you might if it was your boss that hated you in an office.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
If you're getting heckled by your boss, that's a problem.
He's like, yeah. So when you get these hecklers, when you get these hecklers, is it in your what are they sort of say? Is it typical? You suck, and all throwing rubbish on. I can imagine that throwing rubbish.
I mean, that would hurt. That would hurt emotionally. I think if someone was like, because I have had people. My heckle that is like the equivalent of you stink is when someone sarcastically laughs after you try to make a joke, and you're like,
go away. I can't see you no more.
Yeah. I get it. I'm not funny to you. Or it's never fun when just people are silent for a stretch. Like it used to bug me to play colleges because I was past college age, but I'm now trying to entertain young people and they're not used to paying a ticket and seeing a show in a theater. So they're just like rolling into their auditorium the way they would any other thing that's happening there. So they'd be sitting back like this, not engaged. And you really have to win them over.
Try to pick them up. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, if you were not getting laughs for a long time, also known as bombing, if you start to bomb, they just start to be like, this person. And then you see
Who
them
is she?
whispering,
Who is she?
what is she doing? You know, and then it becomes like they're more entertained by how they're making fun of you, and you know it, but you can't make them talk to you about it because they just are like, figure it out. And sometimes you never do, and you're just like, well, I still get paid. You know, like you have to find a silver lining to those things. Like the whole point of stand-up isn't to be, even though we see it on TV as, wow, this person really entertained me and they're really in control and their life must be pretty nice. That's rarely the actual thing that happens. It's like, my life is hard, but I came here to entertain these people. So let me just do the thing that I know how to do. And then the audience is like, my life sucks. I hope this person doesn't remind me of my life that's hard. And then, you know, you kind of like sit in a room together, and as soon as a comedian says something that speaks to the experience of an audience, it's like some relatable piece of material, the audience unwinds. It's really nice. And I think at this point in my career, I know going into a venue, whether an audience is excited to be there, whether they're primed to be there, whether this show is being forced upon them. Some private gigs where you get hired by a third party that's like, I got you this gig in Pennsylvania. And it's like, they don't even know a comedian is coming. It's just like a private event where people are like, why is there a comedian here?
Who's that?
And you're like, hey, everybody, the bus takes forever. And why am I holding a mic? I have a mic right here. You know, and people are like, why is she talking about the bus? Why is she interrupting our conversation? You know, and so that's an uncomfortable, that's not heckling, but it's also where it's just an unpleasant experience. So a lot of comedy, if the audience isn't ready for it, is a bunch of awkward experiences that you can laugh about later.
I feel like
then you learn about yourself. You're like, wow, I did great, even though they were horrible.
What are your thoughts on, because I know a lot of British people see American comedies cheesy. So like, what are your thoughts on when like, especially the British people say American comedy is cheesy? Like, what would you say your answer is to that?
I don't know. Yeah, probably is. I think I don't know what they find to be cheesy. I love British humor, so I don't know. I don't even know if it's accurate to call you guys intellectual, because I think I've seen silly British humor too. You know, like I don't even know if I threw a name out there if it would be somebody you're watching right now, because we're getting stuff late.
Who do you like from the UK?
Well, first of all, I only know, is it Noel Coward? Is that his name?
No, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I only know him through British Bake Show. I watched him co-host that, and I thought, this man is quick-witted. So I looked him up, and then I saw him on his own sketch show. It was like a 2-man show, and I thought, oh, his comedy's, yeah. I thought his comedy's very absurd. And then I started watching the IT crowd. Do you call it the IT crowd or the IT crowd?
IT crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, the IT crowd, kind of like in crowd. I started watching, and I saw him play his character there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so talented. So I don't know if I discovered him backwards, you know, in the order that he had already built his career, but you can tell, even despite like the platform someone's on, when they're talented and what their style is and if that appeals to you or not. And so, yeah, are we cheesy? I would call American humor,
I'd say you're not
crass, like a bit self-focused, broad. I would call it loud and broad. Like a lot of, we're encouraged, I think, when we start to do act outs, which is where you paint a picture with someone talking and using physicality. So it's like, instead of saying my mom made a sandwich, it's like, you ever walk in on your mom during breakfast and then peanut butter, anyone? We eat peanut butter. So, you know, like that's an act out where you're spreading peanut butter and then you're doing the mom's voice. So it's like, what I noticed when I studied abroad in France, like right as I was finishing college, and I got into the comedy scene there, or what was presented as comedy through their television and film media. Like I didn't see any live comedy shows. Actually, I did. I saw one in a theater. It was great. Franck Dubosc. But it was very theatrical. It was like one-man show. What we call a one-man show in the United States is what I was seeing in France. It was like they were already established somehow, like they had been on television already, and now you could see them live and you knew them from their show, but now they were doing a completely different performance piece. And it was, I don't know if they wrote it themselves, but in the United States, it's important that you write your own material.
Yeah.
Until you get to be a certain level, and then you recruit other stand-ups to write with you. So yeah, I think in the UK, have I ever seen, is Hannah Gadsby from your country?
I think
Is she from
I've
Australia?
heard that name. I don't never seen her, but I've heard the name before. She might be. As if you ever seen like Ricky Gervais, someone like that.
Jimmy
Of course,
Carr,
Ricky
Jimmy
Gervais.
Carr
You know,
as
like there are
well,
some of
yeah.
your guys that we like import and then we consider them our own. John Oliver. Like I don't even think of them as British anymore. But yes,
That is true. He does do a lot of work in America.
But yeah. Like and Eddie Izzard. I don't know. Does Eddie Izzard still go by Eddie, or I know that
Hey,
their pronouns are either they or she now. So I don't know if, but you know, like I remember watching their specials. And then who else? Like, oh, what's the guy with the hair? Russell Brand.
Russell Brand, yeah. Love it, Russell Brand.
I love Russell
Glad
Brand.
you brought him up.
And then we got one of your guys to come over here. Gina Yashere became big over here. I don't know if she was big in the UK already. So yeah, I think So she has an accent that I clearly not American, but you know she's so integrated into our comedy scene now. So yeah, like I don't know. The sense of humor I would say is quick-witted in Britain and sharp and sometimes intellectual. Monty Python was goofy, super silly, you know, fun and pleasant. And Mr. Bean is fun and pleasant, you know, Rowan Atkinson. But I'm like referencing people who are your great grandfather's age.
I've watched
like
Mr. Bean. I like Mr. Bean, yeah.
If like you were asking me about like actors from the black and white era, you're like, so Cary Grant, do you ever work with him? And I'm like, but sorry, this is who we have access to in your world. I don't know who your like 20-something-year-old comedians are right now.
Right. I think we're just sarcastic, aren't we? I think we're just more sarcastic than like Americans. I think we just like a bit more sarcastic and like a bit more darker. I think, but I know Jimmy. Jimmy Carr's one of my favorite comedians. He's hilarious. His laugh always gets me. It's like a foghorn. It's constant like a foghorn.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
I've noticed like with some comedians that sometimes the jokes aren't funny, but the laugh that they have is just like makes the jokes funny somehow.
Yeah. As long as someone's sharing themselves and they're having a good time, it's usually easy to like start to like their comedy. But yeah, I don't know. Corny it really depends how you're defining corny in America, because we have edgy comics, we've got dark humor, we've got people who are like clean comedians. Like that's a brand of comedy where it's like you're not talking about drugs or sex or anything like death, but you are like talking about family. There's like family comedians. So it just depends. My humor is like autobiographical. It's relatively clean. It's only slightly irreverent. I wonder how I would play in the UK. I would actually like to get over there and try it and just see and experience the awkward audiences that you have.
You know what, to be fair, I listened to one of your comedy sets. And one of the jokes stood out to me. I just thought it should make me laugh. I thought like because I thought it was a really funny joke. It was about the receipt with how do you rent an umbrella? If you remember the joke I'm on about.
Gosh, I would have to watch it again. Rent an umbrella.
Go out.
I don't know.
Exactly what it was.
The clips I have available to the public are old, but
it was like
it's not something I don't like. It's just something I probably don't tell anymore. But yeah, I'll check it out.
Like, go outside, wait till it stops raining, and then take it back. I don't need it anymore. To keep the receipt.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. That's how I save money. You can rent an umbrella. I act like there's an umbrella rental service available, and really it's just about returning the item before you've used it too much.
I was thinking about it, like, I should do that. I don't know if I can do that or not.
Yeah. The joke's supposed to. Yeah, I've just ruined it for your audience now. But like, did you know at Bed Bath & Beyond you can rent an umbrella? And the audience usually was like, no, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, you just it's in your new policy. It's called return. What is it called? What is this joke? Return the receipt or something. Keep the receipt. Keep the receipt.
Keep the receipt.
There you go.
That was it.
Now make it your own and apply it to a store that exists in Chesterfield, and boom, you got it.
They're too tight in Chesterfield. They won't let you get away with anything like that. So you bought it. That's gone. They've took the receipt in the bin. Keeping the money there. Keeping the money there. Not there. No, back there. Trying to get a refund in Chester. It's like trying to get blood out of stone. Tell you that. Good to know. Yeah, so you ever buy anything in Chesterfield, you want it back, money back. I'd go somewhere else and try.
It's like you're offending their honor. You're asking for a fight. Okay,
yeah, exactly that. Well, I've got some would you rather's to go over, so I'll just continue from there.
Let's do it. Do you think your listeners are having trouble understanding me because of my accent right now?
Definitely not.
And how fast I talk?
Nah.
To be honest with you, most of our guests have been American.
I think we understand you.
Okay. Great.
We've had like
they're mostly American. Why is that? Why don't you interview the local Chesterfield comedians?
Just find I don't get try. Just find America's more appealing. To be honest with you, I just find America's more appealing.
And our corny humor.
Like for example, we did. Yeah, corny, as Joe put it, cheesy humor just out in America's
Cheesy.
like that.
That's what it was. Cheesy.
Yeah. Like for example, we did an interview with this Australian TV presenter at like 6:30 in the morning at this time because we just thought that's a crazy idea. We're just real fun, so we just thought just stands out. Really, I thought it was just a bit of a different idea than what most people would be doing. So.
Of course. Sounds like fun.
Different nations appealing to
You're in your pajamas eating breakfast cereal while you interview him.
Joe was about dying.
I was barely awake for that. I was barely awake the whole time.
I'm convinced 10 minutes.
I think I didn't get to. I don't think I went to bed till like 2:30, and we got up at 6:30. I was dying at the start of that. I was like, whoa.
No fun. Cool wallpaper, by the way. Are those real or is that just the wallpaper?
Thank you. Nah, it's just Marvel wallpaper.
Yeah, I see it repeating. Yeah. It's cool.
Thank you.
Very, and he's a big anime fan, you see. He's got all his anime stuff in the background.
Yep, I can tell. Charlie, what does your background say about you?
Mine's a bit weird. Mine's
Cobra Kai.
Football. Yes.
Good show and cool movie. Yeah, I like the show and the movies, you know.
We're gonna be great friends. Yeah, Cobra Kai. I've got 2 Cobra Kai number plates. Got a Breaking Bad poster. That's my football club's license plate, who I support.
Great.
And then
nice.
There's 2 prints my mate did me, pictures I had. So
not
as good as Joe's, but it's
well,
my own, as they say.
Step it up, Charlie. Work on it.
But I do like your background. Your background's beating me and Joe together.
Yeah. Just a reminder to your people watching.
Up early tonight.
If you have access to Hulu.
We're gonna get to that because I can't wait to talk about that show. It's very interesting for sure. But we'll get into the would you rather. These are some crazy would you rather. Some of them are a bit weird. Just mix them from the different packs. So the first one is I'll come to you first, Joe. Would you rather be smart but a total jerk or really sweet but really dumb?
Smart. I'd rather be smart. Like weird out. I don't know if that's because I watching like you said, too much anime and all them characters are smart, but I'd be smart and a jerk, and I don't really mind.
Yeah, Joe's got a big god complex, so I don't think I was a bit of his answer for me. He's not too bad.
This feels like Charlie was just trying to describe different ways he sees you.
Yeah.
Do you like it when you know stuff, but you're such a jerk about it, or?
Yeah.
I like you when you're sweet, even though you're dumb. All right, cool. Joe wants power. Okay, don't get in his way.
Joe does want power. I'm probably the same. I'd like to be smart. Sometimes I'm very slow with things. I remember you sending me the liquid form joke when I told you it was 5 hours ahead, and you asked about ketchup. You said, "What's it like in the future?" It's ketchup in liquid form in containers. I was sat there for half an hour. Like, what the hell does this mean? Is this cold? I'm like, I sat there and I didn't get it, and I was like, so I just guessed in liquid form. I messaged Joe and said, "Am I being crazy?" And it says, "Mate, I've got like 2 seconds. It's because we're in the future." So I'm very slow. So I'd love to be smart, to be honest with you.
Hey. You're smart. Depends honestly, it depends like what you mean by not smart, because I'm pretty limited in what I know. You know, the things I know, but there's way more that I don't. So, and I'm pretty easygoing. So I guess I have to choose the second one because that's who I am. But like, how evil am I if I'm smart? Like, am I hurting people with my intelligence? I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think that's what it would be described.
All right. Well, some people have to fall. What, for my own ego, just so I can feel like more important than other people? I don't know. What's the benefit of being vastly intelligent if it's to save the world by discovering a cure to a disease, and I happen to isolate myself from everyone? Then I guess I could see the value.
Yeah, that's
I've saved the planet. I don't need to hang out with you guys.
But me and Joe are just jerks. Me and him are just jerks. We'll take being smart. We'll be jerks.
Bullies that ace all the tests. That's what you're imagining.
Come out with it, just a jerk.
Yeah, just a jerk. I mean, you can't be nice, be a jerk. So the next one is: would you rather smell like cheese, which has been left in the sun, or a hamster cage that hasn't been cleaned for a fortnight and is full of constitutionals?
Oh, that's really embarrassing either way. Cheese or
That's a tough one.
Poop.
Poop
But like hamster cage.
How long am I smelling like the cheese?
Forever.
Oh, that's just your general scent. I guess you gotta go cheese, and then you have to work in a cheese factory so no one notices. It kind of defines your life, but but it allows you to still have friends.
Yeah,
or conversely, smell like a hamster cage and work on a farm, whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, you actually probably would go. That's actually a smart one. I'd probably go with a farm on them because like there's a big I say the bigger farmer community than there is cheese factories. So,
Great point. Yeah, true. And cheese factory sounds cold and dark and boring, whereas a farm you've got sunlight. Okay, well that was easy. I think it's unanimous. We want to smell like hamster cages.
Yeah.
And if you're outside, the scent's not as bad. So
true. Yeah, the air will carry it away. Yeah, and
So
blend in, and the animals will love you. I mean, like animals love the smell of poop, so they'll be all over you. Yeah, they'll be like, "You're cool. This guy's cool.
He's one of us."
Yeah.
Would you rather know how to die? It's actually quite. I always ask this one to every guest, and they're always like, "Oh, that's a bit of a brain twist to that." And to be fair, comedy podcast, we're on about death again. Would you rather know how to die or when you die?
Bookending it. How I die or when I die?
How will you die or when you die?
I'm dying in 2056. I already figured that number out. I remember taking like the average. I learned when I was like in grade school what the average age of lifespan was for women. And I did the math. I was like, so that means I'll die in 2056, 2058. It's one of those numbers. So I feel like I've carried that time with me for a very long, although lifespan has probably extended since then. And it varies on different factors, but I don't exercise, so it's not looking good for me. I don't see myself going till 100. How I die, if you know how you die, then you might try to avoid it. So if someone says, well, you get murdered in an alley, you're like, no, I don't, because I'm never going near an alley again. You try to avoid your fate. And in movies, they always try to make that seem like the mistake, like don't avoid your fate because then it causes some cataclysmic problem. So I guess it's better to know when so I can make plans than how, because the how, I think I would still feel in control of it some way.
I agreed, but then one of the guests said, well, what if I said to you, you're dying in 15 minutes? Would it be like, oh crap, well, what am I going to do in 15 minutes?
Yeah, you don't really get to plan. But why? What if you didn't choose? Like you didn't choose to know the time, and you still would die in 15 minutes. They'd say you die at the end of this podcast.
That is true.
Have some sense of the panic would be the same.
His face like this to the entire time. Enjoying the last.
Yeah, or if you were shown, I think about that. Like, what if you're shown exactly what you look like when you die? Well, then you'll know like a general idea of your age, or you'll know like your state. Am I sick? Or I look completely healthy. What do I die? Did someone kill me? What do I drown? Like I think. I don't know why. I think when you do know anything about your death, I think you're able to plan for it or mentally prepare for it. But the reason people don't want to know about it, or the way they scare you off in movies about it, is because you're supposed to live for today, not live for this inevitable scary future.
That is true. I feel like as well it would create like a mental toll. Say for like you said, an alleyway or like a road, for example. You never go on a road again, would you? You never. You walk on pathways all the time. So I think
someone says you choke on a cupcake, you're like, I'm never eating cupcakes as long as I live.
Again.
You die anyway, though. That's the thing, that you die anyway, no matter what. You'd have to die. Like even if it's not that, you die by something else involved in it. So I'd go how I die. Yeah. I'd definitely go that.
Joe the Grim Reaper telling me how it is.
Yeah, out of curiosity, do you have a way, Joe, that would be ideal?
Probably just old age, hopefully. Like not hopefully not like a plane crash, because I have a big fear of planes, so hopefully not like that.
Me too.
But yeah, hopefully like just old age.
Yeah. How would you not want to die then?
Oh, not in a scary way, but if you have, I don't know. I always thought like, wouldn't it be cool if aliens came down and like levitated you and then ripped your body in half and everybody was like, and they never forgot it? That would be like not the worst way to go. And then you become part of a legend and a folk tale. Your reputation lives on as the one person ripped in half.
Independence Day, even like on Independence Day, when that beam just comes out and just evaporates everyone. Like that's just easy and quick, and you don't feel anything. So
exactly,
like
you don't.
like,
cool. No matter how you die, it's over after it's done. But yeah, you're right. Now that you brought up movies where that does happen, like in Minority Report, where an alien will just like beam you. Then nobody really remembers that person. You're just a background actor that nobody cares about. Maybe I don't. Maybe there's better ways to go than what
I
I've
don't know. I'm
devised.
scared of heights. So I don't know. Being ripped into the air, and having my body ripped off would be the nicest way personally to go.
You're like, just do it. Just do it while I'm in my bed. Just
yeah, keep me at a level ground. Don't take me in the air, please. Don't take me in the air.
I didn't think about being scared of heights, but I went on a roller coaster recently for the first time in almost 10 years. And I was, no, not a roller coaster, a Ferris wheel, like the London Eye.
Oh yeah.
And I was terrified. I was terrified by the height. Like once it got higher than a house, I closed my eyes instinctively. And then once the car started swinging as it's supposed to do, we went into the one that's not fixed, but moves a lot. I just couldn't stop screaming. And so I didn't know I was afraid of heights. And then to try to attack that fear, I went on a roller coaster next and I just got motion sickness. So I just felt like the whole experience left me feeling I can't enjoy this place. Like I'm young. I'm old.
I don't mind some roller coasters. I definitely don't mind some, but when your feet are dangling, because I'm terrified of heights and my feet, I can't get on them roller coasters. But planes would be like so much fear of like flying just because of the heights. I hate.
I don't know. I don't know how you can get on a roller coaster but get on a plane. I don't know. I don't get that.
Roller coasters are fun. Like
I can't
plane
do
ain't
it.
fun if you're having turbulence, is it? You know what I mean? But roller coasters fun when you're going round up the
especially ones that take you upside down as well. They're even worse.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. They just give me a headache and they make me want to throw up. But I like the feeling of like your stomach dropping.
Yeah.
That part's exciting. But
that's the worst part for me. I feel like I'm gonna.
That is what you're trying to avoid, Charlie.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. That little thing coming down is horrible. The worst.
I think the anticipation is worse than the actual drop.
It's always the funny as well
because and then bang.
Because I always, every time I get on a roller coaster, I'm like, get me off, stop it. It's already gone by then, so like I can't do anything about it. I'm shouting, get me off. I can remember one time, someone behind me who was on it. Could he shut up? I'm just going mad. Get me the hell out.
Oh my God. Where's the compassion?
Let me panic for God's sake.
Yeah, really. I mean, you can't worry about him. I remember I was so afraid. There was a period I was afraid of flying. It went away, thank goodness. I think because I talked to a friend who was a pilot. He pilots like commercial FedEx planes or something. And he was just like, I do it so much more often. I'm much more at risk than you, and I'm not even afraid, And so for some reason, him telling me that was just like, picture like I'm him, and only I'm not doing it as often as him. But in the period when I was afraid of flying, I remember eating an apple. I had an apple in my hand. Oh, my daughter's coming through. She's a little. Good night, sweetie. I love you. I know. I'm sorry. She wants to be a part of the fun, and she's upset. Sorry.
She can say hello. Say hello.
She knows she's not allowed, so she's like, I want to do your show. We brought her to a comedy show, side note, and the second she arrived, she wanted to get on stage while my husband, he's also a comedian, he was performing, and I had to like chase her out and grab her. She's like only 3 years old, and the audience was like, ah. Anyway, that's what you want to avoid. You don't want
no hecklers for them, do you?
Yeah. They're heckling you, essentially. Your child is heckling you on stage by detracting the attention. So anyway, I had an apple in my hand and I was afraid of flying. And I was like, the apple was supposed to help me focus on something else. So I didn't start, panicking at takeoff. And by the time the plane was done rumbling and we had like leveled out, I looked and the apple was completely gone. And I had eaten the stem, the seeds. Like I remember biting into it, like just eating an apple. Then it was just gone. And I thought I must have dropped it, but it was nowhere to be found. So I just I made a whole apple disappear in my panic and wasn't even mindful of it.
Customers, I think, fellow passengers, I think, and they look across it and just see well.
No, it could have been my hand. Like glad I stopped at the apple.
Just eating away the apple at the end. That's cool. I go on the picture now.
Yeah.
I mean, I never used to have a fear of planes, but when I remember once, it was 3 years ago, we're coming back from Toronto. And then we had turbulence like 40 minutes. And then everyone were asleep apart from me and like my brother. And then all of a sudden this plane takes a massive dip. And I was like, oh shit, it's over. So, and then everyone even wakes up. Like there's a guy with a bag like breathing into it. There's all these old women have woke up all of a sudden and everyone's like, oh no. And it just turns out the turbulence was that bad that we had to set like a few like feet dive, you know what I mean, to get out of the turbulence. But before that, I was never scared. But nah, I'm terrified. Even like a trip to Ireland, which is like 40 minutes on the plane, I'm terrified.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully you can work through that because
there's
no fun.
Someone needs to give Joe a big hug when he goes on a plane because this man is scared.
I do. I need someone to hold my hand when I get onto a plane now.
Of course. Someone that you can just like like grab at their clothing and throttle them like, ah! Something you can scream in their face and be like, we're gonna die.
I love that. I love that. Sometimes, every time I go on a plane, there's always 2 seats to each side. And it's always me, my brother, and my mum that go. So there's 3 seats, only 2 of us can sit together. And even though I'm terrified of planes, I'm still like, yeah, save my brother, he's not scared, but save my brother, just save him first. You go, save him. So I always sit on my own next to like a complete stranger, terrified. And I can't grab this because strangers. I'm like, get the hell off me, I just met you. Oh, it's your left.
Like, my name's Charlie. Don't move.
Let's do this
nice
together.
To meet you. Yeah.
What a way to meet someone grabbing their hand on a plane. The final one you have a bit of a weird one. I was going to bring this in actually when you mentioned peanut butter, but I thought I'd leave it so we get into the questions. Would you rather get a massage with peanut butter or maple syrup?
Like, what would bring me more joy? Is that the question? Would you rather give a massage or eat peanut butter with maple syrup?
No.
Maybe I didn't understand the question. Would you rather have a day trip at the spa or a bag of crisps? Is how I understood the question.
No.
All right, what?
It was. Would you rather? No. Would you get a massage with peanut butter or maple syrup?
Oh, okay. What would feel better?
I
Is
feel
it
like
smooth
maple
or
syrup?
crunchy peanut butter?
it's crunchy.
Okay.
Nah, maple
There's
syrup.
some stickiness, there's some texture there. I think I would go syrup too, just because of the less of friction, the better. How about you?
I don't know. I feel like it's actually crunchy. It'd be rubbing along your back. Sometimes they put like sharp things on your back when they give you a massage anyway. So if it's a crunchy peanut butter, I feel like it would be a bit better. Like just maple
Might be
syrup would
nice.
stick to your back and come out or drip off. I mean, I feel like it'd be a bit harder to get off than a bit of peanut butter. Just spit water down your back and then it's got in it. Whereas I think the maple syrup you've got to really scrub it off with a brush.
That's one thing Charlie didn't tell you, Joe, is you have to go home with this on your body and figure out how to get it off of yourself.
Yeah,
that changes everything. That's not much of a massage.
And the final one, I think I know Joe's answer for this, but just for you, Abby. Would you rather have pogo stick for legs or pogo sticks for arms?
Legs, because I would have trouble holding things. What can you do with a pogo stick for an arm?
I don't know actually.
Box a kangaroo.
Like hang, like
Yeah.
go on your like pogo stick your way to work on a morning like handstand. You know what I mean? Like put on your hands instead, and that'd be quite fun.
Yeah, if
Maybe.
you like walking on your hands or doing
Yeah,
cartwheels.
but
I mean,
pretty fun to see.
I guess made a good point where they said if you got a baby, you got a pogo stick for legs. You can it's balance because your legs are constantly moving because you got pogo sticks. It sort of balances sort of rocks the baby up and down when you're rocking it. Maybe a bit of comfort if you have a baby. I don't know if that works or not.
Maybe because I'm used to using my legs the way I use them, I would go pogo sticks for legs. I don't do much with my hands in the way of punching, and I don't use a wheelchair, so I think I would rely on pogo sticks for legs over hands. I really see it as a problem to try to like eat a hamburger. I don't even know what I would do with pogo sticks for hands. I'm almost angry that you asked this question because the answer seems so obvious.
It'd be like the apple situation again. This one,
Knowing that I can inhale apples, maybe I could use pogo sticks for hands and it wouldn't be a problem.
That's brilliant. So we've seen your background. I want to jump straight into that now. Then up early tonight, you repping it. You representing your previous interview as well with the Fox channel. So talk to me about that up early tonight, where the show came about and what the show's about for people that haven't listened to it, and obviously where you can find it.
Up Early Tonight is a show by moms for moms, but you guys are allowed to watch even if you're a non-mom. It's a comedy show. It's the format is late night, and it's geared towards people who are new parents. So if they want some relatability and they don't want to feel like nobody gets what I'm going through, we get what you're going through. I have a kid. The panel of comedians with me have children too, and we talk about everything, but we don't talk about it in the corny, fun, sweet mom way. We talk about like real issues and things that we don't like about it, and we make it funny. So there's an opening monologue. We have a little house band. It's a one-woman show. She's got some cool equipment, Lafresky. And then we do some panel. There's some sketch comedy in there too. We cut to different clips, commercial parodies, And right now, 4 episodes are airing on Hulu. So if you'd like to check it out, or if you know someone who just had a baby and they're up at all hours, this is something good for them to watch that they might find relatable.
I love that. So what time does it come on in? Go on, Joe, carry on, mate.
No, I was just going to say there's so many talk shows. How do you try and make yours more different to other talk shows?
Well, I think that the thing that differentiates a lot of talk shows is the topics they cover. And also the personality of the host. So, I'm likable and friendly and irreverent. And so I'm approachable. I think we've got other hosts that are, acerbic. Some are knowledgeable, some are goofy. And so it just depends like what kind of personality you gravitate towards. And then of course the content. A lot of late night talk shows, the traditional format is to invite guests on that are celebrities so you can learn about what projects they're doing. Up Early Tonight has not reached that format yet. We opened during the pandemic, so we have no guests. It's all like, just in studio banter with comedians, and there's no audience yet. But you can hear laughter on the shows, which at first I thought was weird. And then I thought I kind of like it. But ideally, if we get greenlit for more episodes, now that people can be in studio and distance and mask safely, then then it would be a different kind of feel.
So is the she done 4 episodes, you say? So you say you're waiting for like an approval to film some more? Is it so how many did you film 4 altogether? Is there more to come out, or are you still waiting for approval?
As far as I know, what's out there is what's out there. And if we do record more, I'll let you know. But the way most television works is it's like recorded ahead of time and then released. First of all, it's like a production company pitches it to a network and then, to many networks. And then the network decides if it fits their sensibilities or their time slots. So that's a whole thing. It's not like Hulu invented the show. It's produced by a comedy site called Scary Mommy in conjunction with Huggies. Where are they? Huggies is down there. Which is a brand of nappies. Is that what you guys call diapers?
Did you plug them earlier? Did you plug them earlier?
Yeah. So anyway, so like that whole process, and then sometimes it's like a host will pitch a show and say, hey, I want to host this show and it's about this topic. Or they'll say, hey, we've got this great show. All we need is a host. And so they start to audition hosts. And sometimes they have one in mind and then they work together with the host to create the show in the host's voice. It just varies. It varies like what kind of show is out there and what already exists, what like hole they're trying to fill in the schedule too, of like, well, we already have this guy doing late night with a live band and guests. So now what we need is, I've seen like talk shows where it's like nerd based, talk shows that are kind of game show based, like a game show talk show hybrid. Like there's a lot out there.
How did you find it?
How would you think? Do you want me to...
Yeah, okay. How did you find it with the 4 episodes in, and how did you find the format, and what sort of feedback did you receive? And
well, what I recorded, I recorded in about October, and then they aired it in December. So they had to edit it, and I had not seen the sketches that were gonna be spliced. I didn't know the names of the episodes or the order of the episodes. I just knew I was recording monologues, and we were shooting the breeze, doing panel. So I didn't know what it would look like or sound like. I didn't know like the theme song, like what the set design was like. I just knew what I saw when I recorded. So that was fun and kind of scary to see, oh, did it come together or not? And I think they did a great job. I think it's super cool. I love the writing team. I think they weren't on location with me. So they wrote stuff ahead of time and then, we would read it. So I thought they did a lot of good hard work too.
Well, did you, sorry, Joe, you want to ask a question, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, how do you think we could see more women host their own TV shows and everything on TV? Because there's not that many, is there? So like, how do you think there could be more women implemented into hosting TV shows?
Well, I don't think there's a lack of women who want to. I think that there's plenty of supply.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do think there's demand also. But I think where it becomes tricky is the people who are making the decisions and who in those decisions, they decide who they want their show to appeal to. So that's called the demographic. And they might decide our demographic is 18 to 35 males or, 50 to 70-year-old women, so they decide who they want to target and who they think the best person would be to reach that target. But I think the audience is telling them, like, quit giving us the same thing over and over again. We want to see someone else. So Lily Singh is getting an opportunity. There was a comedian with red hair in America named Michelle Wolf who had a chance to host a show. We have a woman named Samantha Bee who has had a long running successful late night talk show. Hers is, it's on cable. So our goal is to kind of get a network based talk show. So network meaning like the 4 main channels that are airing on TV.
Yeah.
Although now with streaming, it's okay for people to have a Hulu based talk show or a Netflix based talk show. Amber Ruffin is on a network called Peacock, which is run by that streaming channel was created by NBC, which was one of our main big networks.
Yeah.
So for her to be a woman of color, a woman of color, and being given these keys is really huge. And Ellen DeGeneres, obviously, that's daytime talk. We've got The View, which is women hosting a show, but really it's about like late night. Women in late night is the barrier to break because women during daytime has been happening. I don't know what it would take besides people to keep talking about it and tuning in, obviously, like watch it so that they can't say, well, the ratings weren't there. The numbers weren't there. People don't really want it. And it's like, the truth is people don't really want the ones with the male hosts either. Like you can base it on ratings.
Yeah.
They give male hosts, like, I think more leeway than they would a woman host. They give a woman like 1 year to test and they give a guy 4 years sometimes. So even that's like hard to say that that's the marker of whether or not it's going to stick. But and also, like, did you start out with a celebrity, like Wanda Sykes? I don't know if you know her.
No, not too sure who she is.
I don't know if she had. Okay, she's a comedian, really well established in the United States and beloved, and she's a celebrity. So it's kind of like if you're like letting a person that's recognizable. In fact, Drew Barrymore has a daytime show now, and was a celebrity first versus me, unknown. Like, I'm known on the comedy scene, but America at large, unless they've seen me in a commercial, they probably don't know, who I am. And so they're like, oh, this girl's nice. She's doing a good job. But, that's not the same thing as like, oh, who has a show? Cardi B. She's going to have her own talk show. We got to watch that, So they'd always try. Television networks try different things to see what works. But in the world of late night, and as an audience member who loves late night, I would love to see more women hosting and me hosting 100%. More.
I would definitely say the UK has way less women presenters, women
100%.
reporters. I mean, you're looking in the United States of America, and there's a lot of more well-known women personalities, a lot more successful women personalities because they've been given the opportunity. I think our country, not to slate it, doesn't give as many opportunities, I think, as the US does. But like I said, there's always room for more and more. And there's definitely
for sure. And also it's like, well, who's making the decisions? You have to look at what that demographic looks like. If it's a lot of white guys and they're cisgendered and they're heterosexual and they see themselves in the next young man, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy reminds me of me. Give him a shot. And so it's kind of like a natural inclination. It takes, hiring other people that don't look like that to see themselves in the next generation, and also to know what it's like. If I was given the keys of like, well, I knew how hard it was for me, so I would be more inclined to help people that look like me, because I know we're not just like given a ton of opportunities and a ton of chances over and over and over again.
Yeah,
it's like you said, Charlie. There's loads of male comedians in there, but I barely know any female male comedians over here. Like, it's definitely more male oriented over here, 100%.
I think it's just a lot of the world, though, isn't it? With I think, like I said, people have got a lot of work to do in terms of to start pushing female talents. I mean, if you follow the women's football, but I did a lot of soccer in United States, but obviously football over here.
Gotcha.
That started to get a bit of a name now because before no one really followed it, but they started to get like big channels, BT Sport over here, maybe not. And I think of a well-known women's star, Megan Rapinoe from the United States.
Yeah.
So they're starting to get a bit more. I think in certain sports, certain aspects, women are starting to be given more of an opportunity and more marketed a bit better. I think there's always room for improvement, and definitely it needs to be more improvement with it. One question I did want to ask was, what's one of your best venues and best crowds that you've done a stand-up show at? It was like that stood out to you like a lot. You thought that was really,
I've said this before, but one of my favorite performances was Radio City Music Hall, because it's a hallowed New York venue, but also because I was opening for Aretha Franklin, who was a legendary singer. It was before she passed away, and I did 20 minutes of stand up in front of a full, I forget how many seats. I want to say 5,000, maybe it's 3,000. I have to look it up, but it was a big room. It was great. And yeah, that was one of the really memorable shows I've done. And I'd have to think harder on every other thing because they all become a blur after a while. But I just, it's cool to do stand up anywhere. I think the more varied the places you can do it, the better it makes you, whether it's outdoors, indoors. I haven't done, some goals are like perform for people imprisoned, like imprisoned people overseas, like serving their country. Just people in a different country who don't speak my language, but who might, ideally they would speak English, but whose language I might not speak. Just to try to make the goal of tapping into what makes you funny, but also connecting with what everybody can find funny. And the goal isn't to become like the most general universal person, but the goal is to like really flex your muscles and really, know when the odds are against you to succeed, that you can still succeed.
You still do it.
Yeah. It just takes years and years to work towards that, but it also takes, you have to get out of your comfort zone and learn how to do the job when things are tough. So yeah, it's I think there's more like hospitals, people who, whose health is failing them. I think it would really be cool to make them laugh as well.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
And not just jaded drunk people in a bar, they deserve to laugh too, but
a little bit less.
But it's nice to branch out beyond them.
Yeah, that's true. Got a couple of final questions from me. If you could have dinner with 3 people, who would it be?
If I could have dinner with 3 people, and they're all living, like celebrities or
family?
Say
living. Yeah.
I'm too on the spot. I think it's too. But okay. Who would it be cool to? It would be cool to meet, because like when I worked for a while in celebrity journalism, so I got to interview a bunch of celebrities for People. And I met a lot of folks, but I didn't meet everybody I thought would be cool to meet. So a comedy person or person in comedy who I respect and admire, who I'd like to actually sit down and talk with if they could be bothered. Steve Martin would be fun. Jerry Seinfeld would be fun. Joan Rivers, even though she's passed away, would be great. And then I'm trying to think of, I've actually sat and talked with Wanda Sykes, who you really should look up and enjoy. But I didn't, when you do meet celebrities, you don't sit there and bother them the way
I don't
fans
fanboy,
do. Yeah. So we did talk, but it was very polite. Like, oh, how are you?
How you doing? Yeah, play it cool.
So her again, I'd make her eat dinner with me and answer my questions. All right, so that's my list.
What about you, Joe?
That's a tough one. I'd probably be Keanu Reeves, because he's probably my favorite actor of all time.
I know, wouldn't that be fun? That would be great.
Keanu Reeves off the bat. I'd probably go. It's actually tough. Probably go with a basketball player, since I've got an actor in there. I'd probably go. Let's go.
Yeah, somebody in sports.
Let's go Dennis Rodman. Let's go Dennis Rodman, because
sure.
I think he'd had some flair to the dinner party. And I've got an actor, a sports person, and
do you need a political figure? I'm really not that impressed by presidents, but you should pick a president or something.
Yeah.
Barack Obama.
Winston Churchill.
Boris Johnson. Let's chuck him in there for laughs then.
Really? I didn't expect that.
Let's go Boris. Let's chuck him on there if we're having someone political.
Well, I'll be honest with you, he wouldn't be invited to mine. So mine would be, I'd say, but I always love Barack Obama. I think he's just a great guy.
I'm sure he's a good combo, yeah.
He's a really good laugh. I always like Barack Obama, Joe Rogan. I've always just love his podcast.
Give it time. You do a podcast. I'm sure you'll be on his podcast. There's like
the dream. We can all dream.
Why is that the dream? I mean, because he's so adept and because he's so like, because people are pretty polarized about him where I am from. Like my husband loves him. Yeah. And I'm always like, he's problematic. Look what he said again. Look what he did. I appreciate him as a stand-up. I really like his stand-up specials. Have you seen his stand-up?
A little bit. I've watched some of his Netflix specials. I'm more interested in his podcasts. I've seen a little bit of his stuff. I don't want to get too much of his comedy, to be honest with you, but I get I love his podcast. That's
Interesting.
and he's
Yeah. I
UFC
mean, yeah.
commentator as well. So I mean, I love him from that.
Okay, then
so-
yeah. If you love USC, then yeah, you gotta love Rogan.
He's a man.
What about David Beckham? Is he not that exciting to you?
Yeah, he's all right. I just feel there's probably better people. Got a bomb. I got Rogan.
You've seen too much of him. That's the problem. You're like, I already know what he would
I
do.
know your laugh. Let's be someone else. Probably CR7 Ronaldo because he's just
I was gonna say
nutrition.
I
And
know,
care
of course.
And I'd love stuff to pick his brain on that because he just treats his boy like a temple. And then there was an extra seat. I'd invite you, Abby, because you seem really cool. So I'd invite you for the
Yeah, and we
Can
did
I-
it. Look, dream come true. You
Can I
guys.
just change mine? Can I have the guy with the hangover, like
Zach
not the
Galifianakis.
guy- yeah,
With the
I want him
beard?
because he's hilarious. Yeah,
He's very
I'd
funny.
have him, yeah. And even Jim Carrey as well. I think Jim Carrey.
Oh my gosh,
just
I know
went
Jim
down
Carrey. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we see them do their work, and then we want them to do their work in the conversation with us. When
Yeah.
probably if they're having dinner, they're just gonna be like, "Huh?"
there.
They're just gonna be like,
I want
"Whatever."
Jim Carrey to do like a random noise or something, or like a random switch like at the dinner party when he's here. It'd be amazing to see. Make a random noise, pretty funny.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's a pretty cool list of dinner parties. To be fair, definitely a dream.
I feel like they're all very approachable for us. We didn't, except for
Yeah.
me picking Joan Rivers, who's dead. I don't think any of us. I think we all could have these dinners in the next 10 years. We'll circle back and figure it out.
Hopefully, yeah. That's the dream, as they say. I always said to myself, if I was ever gonna, I've done drugs or smoked a cigarette, anything like that. But if I was ever gonna do weed, I would do it with Joe Rogan on his podcast. That'd be the only time I'd do it. One time, that's it. Boom. Just try it with him and just live the experience. But yeah, John, if you have anything else to add on to Ask Abby or anything else to add?
No, that's fine. It's been such a fun podcast.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I've
I had a
wanted to do
great
this
time. Thanks, guys.
For ages. So my voice has been sounding a bit weird. I've had a bit of a cold, so I'm fighting back a cold.
Oh, get well soon.
But honestly, it's been great to have you on. I've been wanting to do this for ages, and I can't believe you said you got wait for something cool to promote. Because honestly, you've got so much to talk about, which is amazing, and so many projects that you work on. Like, so good.
I
to
love
talk
to
about,
talk. Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I had a great time. Eat some chicken soup and chase those dreams. Have an apple.
Dennis Rodman will be soon. Dennis Rodman will be soon.
I really think it's gonna happen for you guys. All right,
Hope
have a
so.
good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's been back with Abbi Crutchfield.
Thank you.
Bye.